and welcome to this Week 7 edition of the Lantern Football Podcast. I'm Dan River alongside my partner Colin Hossel. Colin, how are you on this Monday afternoon?
I'm getting through it. How about you?
Doing the same. This will be an abridged version of the podcast as the Buckeyes head into a bye week. However, over the weekend, we traveled to College Park, Maryland, where they took on the Maryland Terrapins and came away with the 52-24 victory. I just wanted to start off with some thoughts on the game before I let you jump in.
All right.
Something that happens in sports is that fans can be very overreactive to losses, and that's definitely something that we saw in Week 2 after the Ohio State Buckeyes lost to Virginia Tech. And while it was a very difficult loss, I think fans lost perspective on where the team was at this point. It's a very young team. It's being led by a very young quarterback, but as we've watched this team grow over the past 3 weeks, and especially this Saturday, I think everybody was really reminded and put at ease. And Urban Meyer just showed how he is one of the best coaches in college football. And it's something that I was texting you during the game Saturday. I said it's something that I think was lost in the shuffle. And Urban Meyer is a very, very good football coach, and people were really reminded of that. And this is a good football team, and after what happened Saturday, they have a chance to make this college football playoff.
I completely agree. I don't think people necessarily forgot that Urban Meyer was a good coach so much as they expect Ohio State to be so much better than they have looked up until this point in the year. I understand they're young and everything, but after last year with Bretson Miller, and we thought that this would be one of Urban Meyer's best coach teams of his tenure so far at Ohio State, I just don't think people were satisfied with the results thus far. And I understand that you may think that that's unreasonable, but Ohio State fans are demanding. I mean, they have a long history of success, and they want to continue it.
No doubt about that, and this performance was very characteristic of a normal Ohio State team, and that is the expectation now. And I think you talking about expectations, when you lose a game like that so early in the season, expectations change, and especially when you lose your starting quarterback who's won the Conference Player of the Year 2 years in a row, expectations change. And Ohio State their fan base was at a point where they didn't know what to expect on a weekly basis, especially after that loss.
Yeah, but I think this victory was awesome for Ohio State because the last 2 games have really proven that they are the class. They are in the top of the Big Ten. It's them and Michigan State. It will be for the foreseeable future, and we really got to see that. We saw a bunch of young players come through: Darren Lee, Raekwon McMillan, Eli Apple, all at interceptions, and our freshmen. Obviously, J.T. Barrett looked fantastic as a freshman. Curtis Samuel is out, but Ezekiel Elliott, the sophomore, stepped up. I really do like the way that this team is looking. They may not. They probably won't make the playoffs unless they continue this improvement. Although at this rate, you never know.
And it was very exciting to see these young guys go out and get a fast start, especially on the road, which is something that Urban Meyer alluded to in his press conference over the weekend.
It's not just Maryland. It's any time you go on the road. You know, I'd never been to this stadium, a very nice stadium, and the students are right on you in the closed end. So it kind of worked out that we started on the other end, and just get some momentum going.
Urban Meyer said it right there. It's a tough place to play, and it's somewhere where the fans will be bearing down on you, but that's something that you have to get used to as a young football team, young offensive line, young quarterback. The command of the offense is very, very important. And definitely we saw J.T. Barrett, who made some mistakes a week ago against Cincinnati, take control of this offense and really have just a wonderful, wonderful performance.
Yeah, it was awesome. In the first quarter, Ohio State put up 190 yards. In Maryland, I think they were held to around 30, if I believe correct. Just under 40, I know. It was awesome. It was a great performance on both sides of the ball to come out firing like that. They got an early lead up by 20 near the half, and then Maryland had one score, and Ohio State shut them down in the beginning of the second half. I really like to see that.
It was very encouraging to see J.T. Barrett really build upon his confidence and build upon performances he had in previous games because, honestly, Cincinnati's defense and Kent State's defense, they're nothing compared to Maryland's defense, and even still, Maryland's defense isn't quite that talented. But still, to see a young freshman go out there and just have the command that he did and the ball placement is just absurd when he throws the ball. He throws into tight spots that I wouldn't expect an NFL quarterback to throw in, let alone a college quarterback, and he seems to fit it in every single time.
Yep, I agree with you. And J.T. Barrett did talk about how he's had more confidence lately.
As far as myself and confidence, just trying to get better during the week and not wait till game day to just react to everything. So just trying to get better, know the defense I'm facing on Tuesday and Wednesday. So when it comes Saturday, then I can have that confidence and go out there and play.
JT was talking about how he's been preparing better for the defenses as he's got more experience, and it really shows because he hasn't made many mistakes when throwing the ball. He spreads the ball out. He doesn't lock into one receiver ever. I think the offense has expanded since that Cincinnati game where they were just throwing the ball deep. They look beautiful on offense now, especially with Ezekiel Elliott. He's been a revelation.
Absolutely, definitely something that I saw coming. I don't know about you.
Yes, I did.
Well, either way, Ezekiel
after last
Elliott,
week at least.
Yeah, I bet. Either way, Ezekiel Elliott has been running the ball extremely efficiently, and something that the announcers on Saturday were alluding to is how he himself says that he's a speed back, but something that he's done so well over the past couple of weeks is get yards after contact. Obviously, that's very important in this offense. I mean, the linemen can't block everybody down the field, especially with the way that their runs hit. They're very quick-hitting runs. He has little holes to cut through, and he's doing a very good job of breaking tackles and getting those extra 4 or 5 yards.
Yep, he may consider himself the speed back, but he's definitely more of the powerful back, considering but the resident speed back Curtis Samuel was out for the game, so he's definitely speedier than Rod Smith. You were also talking.
I think I might be speedier than Rod Smith, honestly.
You were also talking about the offensive line, and they may have given up 4 sacks, but they did. I really think that they looked improved. Especially, I texted you after the first drive. I'm like, I was talking about how they just dominated the front. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott looked good, but the offensive line gave him so many holes to work with, and they gave Barrett a great pocket. And that's one of the reasons why Ohio State was able to get out on that early lead.
I believe your exact quote was, "This team is really good," and I completely agree with you. This team is really good, and when they're in this offensive line and this quarterback and these playmakers around this quarterback are growing up. Something that Urban Meyer said in his press conference, they're growing up right before his eyes, and it's been extremely exciting to see them do that because we knew that, yes, Braxton Miller is one of the best players in the country, but we knew that Urban Meyer's been in the top 5 recruiting classes every year he's been on campus, so we knew that there had to be talent all around JT Barrett on offense. It was just all a matter of execution and being prepared going into Saturday instead of having to make decisions based on what you see Saturday.
Yep, so we're talking about how they've improved a lot on the offensive side, but they've also improved on the defensive side. They held Maryland to 24 of 40 passing for 244 yards and only 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions between both C.J. Brown and Caleb Rowe, which is a revelation compared to what their pass defense was earlier this year.
Absolutely, and something that Urban Meyer alluded to in his press conference was how the defense was much more aggressive.
We're going to be more aggressive on defense. We're tighter coverage with that. There's somewhat of a risk that we need to continue to work on because there's some isolated man-to-man coverages, but there's also more opportunity to step in front of a ball like we have.
And what Urban Meyer said was that there's more of a risk now, and it was an interesting week to turn up the aggression as Ohio State knew that they were facing one of the best receiving corps that they've had to play all year with Stephon Diggs and Deion Long, but even still getting pressure on C.J. Brown and Caleb Rowe paid major dividends, getting 4 interceptions, taking one back for a touchdown, taking one back that should have been a touchdown if Duran Grant knew where he was.
And Joey Bosa doing Joey Bosa things.
He's always doing Joey Bosa things, that's for sure, but even still, it was very exciting to see Chris Ash and Luke Fickell turn up some pressure. They actually did something right. We can applaud them for that. So it was just a great thing.
I was very worried that Stephon Diggs would go off this game, and honestly, I was pretty much 100% sure that he'd take 1 deep, but he had 7 catches for 52 yards, and he only had 2 for 19 yards in the first half. I mean, if you're stopping their number 1, who's as talented as Diggs is, for that little yardage, that is very impressive. And it's not that they keyed on the pass. They held Maryland to 2.8 yards per carry on 24 carries, got them 66 yards. I mean, that is fantastic defensive performance all around.
Well, we pretty much knew coming into the game that Maryland wasn't as much of a running threat, but still it was very encouraging.
Yeah, but even C.J. Brown, their quarterback, had 8 rushes for -3, and he is definitely a running threat. And Ohio State has not had any issues against the running quarterback thus far.
Not at all. I don't think they've exactly played an elite one. Aside from Keenan Reynolds in week 1, I don't think they played an elite running quarterback, but you're right. They did do a good job in containing him. I mean, he was pulled at the half, though, for Caleb Rowe, and for some reason they pulled him and put in Caleb Rowe, who ended up throwing 3 interceptions. Threw for a touchdown, but he only had a 22.2 quarterback rating, so questionable decision-making. But
neither of the two
all
are going to
that
save
aside, it was good to see Ohio State make some plays defensively because this offense is so talented. They do have the option of going aggressive and trying to make plays and make turnovers and get the ball back for this offense to try and punch it in. So it was very, very encouraging.
Yep, we haven't seen a lot of Ohio State force a lot of turnovers lately, and this game showed how important they could be for the future in the Big Ten. Because who do we have next week? Or
bye week, sitting on a bye week,
and then we have
at home against
Rutgers.
Rutgers.
Yeah, another game which Ohio State should win. At least we have the bye week. We have the bye week to rest up, and a bye week again for the young guys. Ohio State has such a young core that a bye week is invaluable for these guys. This is their second one already. I really like that. It's lucky.
I completely agree with you, and they look very good coming out of a bye week off the Virginia Tech loss. And something that I'd love to see them practice a little more is their field goal kicking.
Yes.
1 of 2. Sean Nerberger missed another. He's 6 of 9 on the year, and as you get into Big Ten play, the weather's not going to be nice. You're going to have to kick field goals at times, and
the games are going to be closer.
In big games you're going to Penn State and you're going to Michigan State. Those are 2 huge games on the road, big crowds. The crowd wasn't as bad, I don't think, as it's going to be down the road.
Not at all.
And for him Sean Nerberger has obviously struggled. Is this a big area of concern for you at this point?
It's obviously an area of concern considering the Big Ten is just going to be lower scoring games than other conferences. At least Ohio State has Cameron Johnston as the punter because he looked great. 2 punts for 102 yards. That's what he's going to give you. He's going to be a weapon when you struggle. And actually, sticking on special teams, Dontre Wilson, my main man, he finally did something.
Busted loose, but
Yep.
not really. Got tackled by the punter.
He had one good return though. And that's more than he's had all season so far.
It's still good to see him bust loose a little bit.
So
I think that pretty much covers it. Ohio State with a big win. Not a lot of negatives to look at. A couple big plays here and there, but even still, Ohio State with a big 52-24 win. I don't know how many bad things.
The improvement is definitely the part that you have to take away from this. They're really looking like one of the best teams in the Big Ten, and I was not 100% sure that they would be that earlier this season.
Keep holding out hope that those teams ahead of them will lose, and Ohio State will have a shot at that college football playoff.
Yeah, at this point they might.
We will be back with you on Thursday next week as Ohio State gets ready to take on Rutgers on October 18th in the Shoe, 3:30 Eastern. We will see you there. For Colin Hassel, I'm Dan Herbener. We'll see you next Saturday, and go Bucks!